Hi, everybody. Welcome to English Digest. I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Jacob.
Yeah, and we've got a fun unit today. It's actually called our fun unit, which makes me laugh. So it better be fun. Today we're going to learn some idioms.
Ooh.
And I always think those are really interesting. I forget sometimes, Jacob, how many idioms we have in English.
Oh my gosh, we have a lot of idioms. And the thing with idioms, I know when we study a foreign language, say when we're studying Chinese, the idioms are very difficult, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so it's always a little bit tricky. But the thing about idioms is that they're fun. And if you can learn them and use them, it kind of makes your English stand out a little bit. It kind of makes people think, wow, that person really knows English because they use an idiom here or there.
Now, they're not easy, though, guys. And I think what's even worse is if you try to use an idiom and you use it incorrectly. That's worse.
Yeah.
So make sure that when you do try an idiom, that you practice on a friend at first. You know, maybe you have a foreign friend that you can run it by. Make sure that you've got it down, that you're not adding or forgetting some words that are important or using it in the wrong situation. Yeah, it's kind of fun. Well, these are all about the sea, you could say, seafood, marine animals as well. And we're going to spend a couple of days on them. We have so many. And this is not all of them. This is just some. So why don't we go ahead and read through day one, and then we'll be back to talk about some of these idioms.
Seafood plays an important role in Taiwanese cuisine. And seafood vocabulary can make a real splash in your daily speech. Whet your appetite with these seafood idioms and phrases. Fish story. Don't believe a fish story or an over-the-top and untrue tale told for entertainment. This phrase came into use in the early 1800s and relates to fishermen who exaggerate the size of their catch. If someone's telling a fish story, they're likely trying to trick someone into believing something that's too good to be true. A big fish in a small pond. Here, the big fish refers to someone who stands out only because they're surrounded by less gifted or successful peers. It means that they're only important within a limited area. However, reversing the idiom would change their circumstances immensely. A small fish in a big pond will have trouble getting recognized in a crowd of accomplished and skilled individuals. Fish out of water. It's common for someone to feel like they don't belong or feel out of place in unfamiliar surroundings. Those who feel this way are called fish out of water. Of course, water is the natural habitat for fish. So removing fish from water would cause them obvious distress. This phrase has been used to express discomfort since 1483. To fish in troubled waters. This idiom is based on the old idea that fish bite more easily in rough seas. Those who fish in troubled waters see chaos and confusion as an opportunity. They use other people's struggles to their advantage, taking what others have lost as their gain.
Okay, folks, we're going to dive in and talk about these seafood idioms.
I see what you did there.
Yeah, we're going to dive in. Just going to start. So this first idiom, if you're fresh off the boat, there's an idiom in the title, guys. If you're fresh off the boat, it just means you're somebody who has just arrived from a foreign country, and you're probably an immigrant, you're unfamiliar with the customs, and maybe your language skills in that country aren't so good, but you're trying to get used to a new environment. Okay, so let's go for it. It says here, seafood plays an important role in Taiwanese cuisine. It really does, because we're surrounded by water, and seafood vocabulary can make a real splash in your daily speech. If you make a splash, you make a real splash, it means you do something that people notice. Maybe you arrive early to class and you have a new outfit on and, oh, everybody notices. You look hot. You're making a real splash. So these idioms really can improve your language skills, and they are impressive if you use them correctly, as Jacob said. Now, what's this next little phrase here? Whet your appetite.
Well, to whet your appetite, Stephanie, means to get ready to eat. Okay, so if you're feeling hungry, then you could say that your appetite, you've whet your appetite. Whet here means to sharpen. So your appetite, you're getting ready to eat. You whet your appetite. So let's whet our appetite with these seafood idioms and phrases.
Yeah, here's the first one. It's called Fish Story. It says, don't believe a fish story or an over-the-top and untrue tale for entertainment. So if somebody tells you a fish story, or maybe you're listening to someone tell a story and somebody else comments about, oh, what a fish story, it just means they think that story has been greatly exaggerated and is probably not likely to be true. So, yeah, I think this one's a fun one. It says the phrase came into use in the early 1800s and relates to fishermen, probably fishermen who would, say they caught the biggest fish ever, which you hear a lot from fishermen, coming from a dad who likes to go deep-sea fishing. I've seen that. I've heard those stories, actually. There is a great website on the net, guys, called phrases.org.uk, where you can look up the history of some of these idioms and phrases. It's kind of fun.
Right, so fishermen who exaggerate the size of their catch. If you exaggerate something, it's a verb. It means you represent something as being larger or better or worse than it really is. So you overstate it or you magnify it. So say you caught a fish that was maybe the size of your hand, so not too big, but then you hold your arms out and you said, oh, the fish was this big. You're exaggerating about the fish. You can use exaggerate in daily life. Like, say you took a test and your parents asked, oh, how did you do? And you said, oh, I did really, really great. Oh, I'm so happy. Oh, I got an 82. Okay, so you exaggerate. Maybe you didn't do that great, but you feel good about it. So you're just exaggerating it. You're kind of making out to be better than it really is.
And it can be better, but it can also be much worse.
Oh, true, yeah.
As well. So, yeah. Wow, I haven't slept for a week. Well, of course you've slept some, right? But sometimes we use exaggeration to make a point. So, yeah, sometimes people would definitely exaggerate the size of their catch. If someone's telling a fish story, that's what that means. They're likely trying to trick someone into believing something that's too good to be true. Now, the next one I use a lot. A big fish in a small pond. And it refers to someone who stands out, but only because they're surrounded by people who are less gifted or less talented or successful. So you're a big fish and you stand out because everybody else is less successful or they're not very successful. I used to use this phrase when I would talk about going to New York to study opera and musical theater. I was a big deal where I grew up. Everyone knew me as a singer, but I wanted to go and compete against the big fish. I was tired of being the big fish in a small pond. I wanted to go be a small fish in a big pond and see if I could compete. So sometimes you use that phrase to talk about that. Now, if someone stands out, it just means people notice them. Maybe it's because of the way they look, or it could be for this reason. They're better than other people at similar things. This is the verb phrase stand out, but you can use it as a noun too, guys. You just take out the space. If someone's a standout at math, they're really good.
Ooh, and it's also related kind of to the word outstanding, right? The adjective, outstanding. If someone's outstanding, they really stand out, you might say. And we have the word here, peers. Peers, P-E-E-R-S. Your peers are the people who are in the same group as you. So you can have school peers. When you finish school, you'll have work peers or your colleagues. Those are your work peers. So basically, peers are people that are in the same group or people who are like you. And it continues, it means that they're only important within a limited area. That's what Stephanie was mentioning when she said she was a big fish. She was really someone who stood out. back home, but when she wanted to go to New York, well, New York isn't a limited area, right? It's a huge city, so there's a lot more people there.
Yeah, that's why they say if you can make it there in New York City, you can make it anywhere. Everybody wants to be famous in New York City. So here it says it means that, like Jacob was saying, that you're, only important within a limited area. You're a big fish in a small pond. But what happens when you reverse it? So now you're a small fish in a big pond. And that's what happens when you move into a big city. You're competing against many, many more people, and you're probably going to have more competition. So if you reverse something, that's one of our vocab words. Just means it's the opposite of what you were doing. You're changing something. You can reverse a decision, reverse a process, reverse a rule. Maybe you got in trouble and your parents said you couldn't go out this weekend, but you were so good for a while there that they reversed their decision and they're letting you go out on the weekend. So this is turning something opposite to what it was before. So reversing the idiom, saying you're a small fish in a big pond, would change their circumstances immensely. Immensely here is an adverb, and it just means very much or an extreme way.
Greatly.
Yeah, the adjective, of course, is immense, but if you put that ly on there, it's an adverb. So practicing can help immensely if you're trying to improve your skills in something, either a hobby, a talent, or maybe you're practicing at some sport you want to get better at.
Right. A small fish in a big pond will have trouble getting recognized in a crowd of accomplished and skilled individuals. Okay, so we've reversed the idiom. We've done the opposite here. So we have a small fish in a big pond. And yeah, it's difficult, or you have trouble to stand out or be recognized in a crowd of accomplished and skilled individuals. Now, someone who is accomplished means that they've done a lot in life. They are recognized as having succeeded in a lot of ways. Maybe they're famous. They have a lot of good skills. And so they're accomplished. Okay, so having done something well, you are known or famous for something. That means that you're accomplished. And when you are a small fish in a big pond, you have all these accomplished people, and it's difficult for you to kind of be outstanding.
Yeah, to stand out there. I know. It's not easy. Right now, guys, we're going to take a few minutes to listen to our Chinese teacher who always stands out, and then we'll be back.
Hello， 大家好，欢迎收听 English Digest， 我是哈利。今天我们要阅读的文章是 Unit7 的第一天课程。在这个课程里面呢，我们会学到许多和海鲜相关的惯用语。适当的应用这些惯用语在你的对话或作文中，可以使你的表达更生动、更引人注意。首先，我们看到第一段的第一句后半部分，海鲜词汇可以在你的日常谈话中增添色彩。名词 splash 是指泼溅声、泼溅出来的液体，所以片语 make a splash 原本是指 to do something that gets a lot of public attention。做某事来引起大众注意的意思。我们来造一个句子 The director's new movie made a splash in many Asian countries. 这位导演的新电影在许多国家引人瞩目。我们接着看第一个惯用语 fish story. Fish story 指的就是夸大虚假的故事。我们看到这一段的最后一句，如果有人在讲荒诞不可信的故事，他们可能正在试图哄骗某人相信一件好的、令人难以置信的事情。动词 trick 有欺骗、戏弄的意思。片语 trick somebody into doing something 就是指欺骗某人去做某事。例如 Mary tricked her brother into doing the dishes by telling him that it was fun. 玛丽骗她弟弟去洗碗盘，跟他说这样很好玩。第二个和鱼相关的惯用语是 a big fish in a small pond。 我们看到这一段的第一句，在这里大鱼是指仅因为身处在被较没有天赋或不太成功的同侪之中才脱颖而出的人。片语 stand out 是突出、显著的意思。The new employee had stood out from the other applicants because of her business expertise. 这名新员工因为他的商业专门知识而比其他求职者更突出。跟这个片语相关的形容词呢，有 outstanding 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 意思是杰出的。例如 The outstanding swimmer set a new world record at the Olympics. 那位杰出的泳将在奥运会上创下新的世界纪录。
We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back, guys. We're talking about seafood idioms that are fresh off the boat. It's a fun unit. And learning some of these idioms will not only help your comprehension skills, they'll really make you stand out if you can use these correctly in your own speech. They're fun, too. I think it's really fun. We have so many different kinds of idioms. I know you guys do in Chinese as well, but our language is full of phrases and idioms that are kind of fun. And some, if you hear them, you're thinking,What does that mean?
Right.
With Chengyu, when I hear those in Taiwan, it's easier for me because I can tell there are 4 characters. It doesn't make sense to me. And I think, it's one of their idioms. So that's how I know.
Yeah.
But our idioms are all different. So these are going to be focused on the sea. It could be some fish. It could be water.We've just gotten started here. We talked about the fish story, which is a completely exaggerated, over-the-top story that people tell and you know it's not true. Then there's the big fish in a small pond where you stand out because the people around you really aren't as talented or as successful. So it's not really a big deal that you're a big fish in a small pond. A fish out of water is our next one.If you're a fish out of water, this one we would say something like, wow, I just went to my new school today. I feel like a fish out of water.
That's good,
Yeah, that's kind of how we would use it. So what does this mean, Jacob?
Well, to be a fish out of water means you're not used to a new situation. Something has changed and maybe you're not feeling very comfortable or you haven't yet learned how to successfully move through the new place that you're in or the new situation that you're in. It's common for someone, the article says, to feel like they don't belong or feel out of place in unfamiliar surroundings. Okay, so that's what we just talked about. If you're at a new school or a new workplace or something like that, and you don't know anybody, and you don't know where things are located, right, so you might feel like you don't belong, you don't fit in, you feel out of place. To feel out of place means, something's wrong, you're not comfortable, because the surroundings or the area is unfamiliar to you.
And it can be all different sorts of situations. I have a couple friends who love to go mountain climbing, not hiking,climbing, which is kind of serious. And whenever I'm around them, I kind of feel like a fish out of water once they start talking about it because I have no interest in that. There's no way I would go mountain climbing. You could kill yourself or die. Anyway, fish out of water. You're just uncomfortable or you feel like you don't really fit in. So those who feel like that, they're called fish out of water.Think about how a fish would feel if he's out of water or if she's out of water.
Right?
Yeah, not so good. So, of course, water is the natural habitat for fish. Anytime you see that word habitat, you know it's a place or maybe not just people, but it could be animals or plants, a place where they belong. Maybe that's their natural home. If you talk about someone's natural habitat, just means the type of place where they usually live or grow.So, water is the natural habitat for fish. So, removing fish from water would cause them obvious distress. Distress, of course, is just that feeling of not just problems you have are getting to you. Maybe you have a lot of unhappiness. You're distressed. You can also be distressed about something. Here, we're talking about distress more as a noun. So obvious distress. You can be in distress as well, guys. And that's very similar to the next phrase or vocabulary word coming up. This phrase has been used to express discomfort since 1483. So this is an old one, guys. Discomfort isn't as extreme as distress. Discomfort just means, oh, it's not very comfortable, but, you're not crying or maybe suffering from too much pain. But you can have a little discomfort maybe at the dentist.
Oh, yeah. Maybe a lot of discomfort at the dentist. But yeah, you see the prefix here, dis, and when we see dis, D-I-S, in front of a word, that often means the opposite of what comes after. And comfort is a good feeling, right? We like to feel comfortable. We like to have comfort in our lives. So when you put dis in front of it, it kind of means the negative. So discomfort, it means an uncomfortable feeling.
Yeah, also, guys, just so you know, if it's a noun, it's uncountable. It's a non-count noun, as is distress. So it's just light pain, not being too physically comfortable. You're uncomfortable. We're moving on to the next one. This is our last one. To fish in troubled waters. I haven't used this a lot, but now that I understand more what it means, it makes sense to me. To fish in troubled waters means you try to gain an advantage from kind of a difficult situation. Or maybe you're gaining an advantage from someone else's problem. So you're taking advantage of somebody else's distress, probably, you could say. Think about it in terms of the stock market. A lot of those stockbrokers go in and enjoy fishing in troubled waters when a company is having a hard time. They buy up the stock when it's priced very low. And then, of course, they make more money once that company recovers. So they take advantage of a company's distress or sometimes even their bankruptcy. So you go in and take advantage of a situation where there's a situation where it's just confused or someone's struggling, and you're able to kind of gain an advantage from that.
Well, let's see where it comes from. This idiom is based on the old idea, okay, so it's another old one, that fish bite more easily in rough seas. Okay, so rough seas are when the ocean is, the waves are quite high, and the seas, you can see the white part of the water comes over the waves and crashes down. So if there's a storm out at sea, if a typhoon is coming, let's say, the seas will be really rough. R-O-U-G-H. Now, the opposite of that would be calm. Calm seas, C-A-L-M, calm seas or calm waters. So fish bite more easily in rough seas. I don't know if this is true. Is it true?
I'm not a fisherman. I would have to ask my dad. Sorry.
Okay. So fish are biting in rough seas, and those who fish in troubled waters see chaos and confusion as an opportunity. Okay, so chaos here is just an unpredictable situation, or when people are panicking and when people are running around and there could be a disaster that's happening. This is chaos. When there's a lack of order happening, we have chaos. Okay, so people see chaos and confusion as an opportunity. They want to jump in and they want to try and use this chaos to gain an advantage or something like that. They use other people's struggles to their advantage, taking what others have lost as their gain.
Sounds kind of mean. I don't think this way, but a lot of people have become quite wealthy in disasters, natural disasters even. So they make a lot of money while other people struggle. So that's what it means to fish in troubled waters. So that's our idioms for day one. We have another day to talk about some more idioms, and I think you'll recognize at least a couple of those. But right now, we're going to turn the time over once again to our Chinese teacher.
我们接着看到第三个惯用语是 fish out of water。这一段的第一句说，人们在陌生的环境中会感到自己不属于这里，或感到格格不入是很常见的。 这一句有个名词 surroundings 是周遭环境的意思，固定为复数形。我们来造一个句子。Wild animals usually pay close attention to their surroundings. 野生动物通常对它周遭环境非常注意。如果不加 s 的话 surrounding 就变成形容词，意思是周遭的。例如 Susan moved to the village because she is fascinated by its surrounding forests. 苏珊搬到那个村落去，因为她对其周遭的森林着迷。另外呢，如果去掉 ing 的话 surround 是动词，意思是围绕、包围。例如 The golf course is surrounded by natural wetlands. 这座高尔夫球场的周围都是自然的湿地。Day 1的最后一个惯用语是 to fish in troubled waters. 这一段第二句的开头用 those 后面接 who 形容词子句，用来表示怎么样的人。例如 Those who give up easily rarely achieve success. 容易放弃的人很少会成功。Those who 也可以替换成 whoever， 相当于 anyone who。但要注意的是呢 ，those who 后面接复数动词 ，whoever 视为第三人称单数，所以后面接单数动词。我们来造一个句子 ：Whoever is caught cheating on an exam will be severely punished. 凡是考试作弊被抓到的人都会被严惩。最后我们看到最后一句有一个片语 to somebody's advantage， 名词 advantage 意思是优势、利益、好处。to somebody's advantage 就是指对某人有利。The politician skillfully manipulated the media to his advantage. 这位政治人物巧妙地操控媒体来对自己有利。以上就是今天的课程，谢谢大家收听。
So that's all the time we have for today, guys. We're sure glad you joined us. And we hope you'll come back for day 2 because we've got some more fun idioms to share. For English Digest, I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Jacob. Bye-bye.
Bye. See ya.